But let's talk about the second topic for today, and that has to do with health insurance, and specifically the problems that are being faced in the National Capital Region, in particular with regard to pollution. And Amit Chhabra, the CBO of General Insurance at Policybazaar, joining in to talk about some of these aspects. Amit, you've recently sent out a report which I thought was quite alarming about the number of cases of claimant of health insurance that are coming in because of pollution. What are the key takeaways of that report?
Well, yes, it's quite a disturbing trend, to be honest, and it's not new. We see this trend every year. Around November, October, November is when this typically the number of people coming in for claims which are related to air pollution or can be linked to air pollution, that number grows sharply for a month or so, and then it drops again. So of course, you can link it to air pollution. That's part one. The other very, very disturbing trend is that almost half of these claims are actually coming from young children, which is again, it's a sad state of affairs. But essentially, what's happened is that these young children are the ones who find breathing the most difficult in the current climate or pollution conditions that are there. And hence they are the ones who get most impacted, and hence they are the ones who are called to a hospital, and eventually the health insurance claims happen. So I think it's a very, biologically what is happening can be easily explained, because these are the ones who have narrow airwaves. These are the ones who are most susceptible to air pollution and related infections. Hence that's a trend that's coming out. The other thing which remains to be seen and probably is a bit more scary is how does this play out in the longer term? Because one is, what we see right now is a quick short-term impact of air pollution, where people are finding breathing tough, or there are, let's say, chest congestions or infections, and eventually hospitalization is happening. What happens from a longer term impact of air pollution, that remains to be seen, and there is a lot of talk already in the insurance circles on how to deal with the longer term impacts of air pollution. So that is something that may that one may see over a period of time. But yes, short term trends are not really encouraging at all.
What is any details on the quantum of the claims that are being made? And of course, the insurance industry will be looking at these trends very closely, because ultimately the repeated nature of the claims would have a bearing on premia as well down the road. So any idea about the quantum of claims, how long is the average hospitalization, those kind of aspects?
See, typically, so we have seen almost a 14% increase in pre-Diwali and post-Diwali time frame. So there is a larger increase than what it used to be historically. So there is an increase. And it's a bit early, to be honest, to discuss premium increases, because typically premium increases are built on trends that are seen over a longer run. So there is no immediate impact on premiums as such, but there is definitely an increase in the claims. The other thing, and I'm talking specifically about the short-term impact, what we are seeing right now is that in the short term, the hospitalizations are typically smaller. So you would typically see 2 to 4 days of hospitalization. The average claim size is also in the range of 60 to 70,000 rupees. So right now the impact is not as much, and hence you're not seeing any, we're not seeing any major impact on premiums. The concern is what happens in the longer run, because one of the fears that is there is that this could lead to eventually a lot of heart problems or cancer related issues in the long run. In case that happens, then yes, there is definitely a larger impact. But right now, as we speak, there is no impact on premiums. Okay. It's a longer run phenomena that is there.
Yeah. But I got a sense of what I was trying to find out. Amit, so therefore the question arises, and since we're talking about nearly half of the claims being for children, I wanted to ask you also how children should be covered, because and we've discussed on past shows what the approach should be, but I think it bears repeating. Is it important for children to also have a base policy and also part of a family floater, for example? Or do you think that it's okay for them to be part of that family floater for the kind of claims that you would normally expect for children? One. Two, should you be okay with having them part of the corporate cover as well? So what is the approach that you would suggest for having your child insured?
See, the right approach is, to have the child as a part of the family floater cover only. A child cannot really get an individual cover of their own. But a very, very common scenario we have seen is, let's say if there is a husband and a wife, and as they start a family, you would typically add the child to the family floater policy itself. It is extremely important to also look at the sum insured that you have right now and also expand the sum insured when you add a child, because the same sum insured is going to get used between all the family members. The ideal, and we've discussed this always, the ideal rule of thumb is at least have 10 lakh rupees sum insured per person. So if let's say there was a two adult health insurance policy and now there is a child added to the policy, you must also add some extra sum insured to the policy, because now there are more people who are going to potentially use that sum insured. Hence, one should definitely increase and take it to 30 lakhs or more as much as possible. So I think getting adequate sum insured, I would say, is actually the only thing that one has to, take care of, specifically given these current conditions and in general as well. I would say that, the ideal sum insured that everybody should buy is actually a 1 crore sum insured, because the cost of, of moving from, let's say, a 10 lakh sum insured, which is most popular right now, to a 1 crore sum insured is actually not much. You would be spending about 20% extra premium only, but you would get 10 times the, 10 times the sum insured.
Which is important. I was speaking to somebody recently where they said that when you're talking about a floater or a super top-up, etc., whatever you're calling it, the allowances for room rent, for certain other aspects, can be lower or different from your base policy. Is that true in a lot of cases?
Not so much, to be honest. The policies that come today, almost every policy comes with a single private room as the standard room. In most policies we see that now, and that is also true for a super top up as well. Now, if you want to go for a high-end policy, and let's say where you want to use a suite room or or something of that kind, yes, there might be a disparity, but largely for the masses, single private AC room is the standard in health insurance policies and in super top ups as well. But yes, if you're taking a specialized policy, let's say, which has a suite room as a capping, you may not get the suite room as per the super top up as well. But to be honest, in 99% of the cases, we have seen that a single AC room in a hospital is fairly good. It's, you get all the privacy, you get space, you get treatment, you get space for your attendants as well. That's what 99% of the people take, and that's what a super top up policy also covers for.
Okay.
So it's not really a big problem.
Okay. Amit, specifically in this case, because it's primarily respiratory issues that are being caused by air pollution in the National Capital Region at this moment. And the causes are well described. But I do want to ask about care after hospitalization as well. To what extent is that covered under insurance policies? Because one would assume that in several cases, nebulization and certain other treatments will have to continue for some time after discharge.
Yes, so almost all health insurance policies, the comprehensive ones today, also provide post-hospitalization cover. In fact, they provide pre and post-hospitalization cover both. And the time can extend from up to 3 months pre-hospitalization and up to 6 months post-hospitalization. Any expenses, which could be outpatient expenses, it could be medicines, it could be any diagnostic tests, it could be nebulization, for example, these are covered in health insurance policies. It's a reimbursement-based process because these expenses are done anywhere. So it's up to the policyholder to basically go and buy these medicines or show to a doctor anywhere they want or prefer, and then they can claim through a simple reimbursement-based process. So they are covered, and in fact, to be honest, every policyholder must take care of keeping those documents, bills, prescriptions in place. And then you can, through a simple process. Now the processes are very, very simple. They're digital in nature. So you can go to a mobile app. So for example, you can go to the Policybazaar mobile app and upload these bills. And, and these are then reimbursed back to your bank account. It's a fairly simple digital process. But yes, it has to be done. So, consumers must take care of these bills and prescriptions and upload them for the claim.
Best to keep a file in all these situations. Amit, thanks so much for taking the time. Important conversation that we've had today.
Thank you.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Your Money Matters. And by the way, if you've got specific topics that you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comment section, and do stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.